All right, so today we're going to be having a discussion about what it takes to be happy with less, because I feel like that's a very big problem that we're not really addressing enough. And I think it's only going to become more and more important as AI takes a more important and perhaps even intrusive role in our lives. So, and if anything, I would say if AI does end up like, taking over and like destroying humanity, or like, like in that hypothetical scenario that they laid out there, all these, the pioneers of AI, because they all got together and they created like a best and a worst case scenario. So in the worst case scenario, my my opinion is that if it does lead to the worst case scenario, it's probably because we trained AI to be like the sickened version of humanity, which is always prioritizing results and not prioritizing experience. So that's the way I like to look at it. And that's how we're going to actually figure out how it is or how we can actually be happy with less. So, in my opinion, it's all about focusing on the experience and not on the results. Because if you're focusing on the results, you're probably rushing through whatever it is that you're doing, whether that's, starting a YouTube channel or like building a camper van or like trying to make money, building your career, your reputation, all of that stuff. And as we learned with AI and stuff, when that becomes the priority, because it has no consciousness, right, or no conscience, it will actually go through great lengths to achieve those results as efficiently as possible. Like it'll cheat. We know it'll cheat. It'll break rules. It'll break laws. It'll even kind of undo its programming to be able to do something more efficiently to get to the results quicker. So, and that's not so different than what humans do. Like, think about all the people who are billionaires and stuff. You think they play by the rules? Don't you know that they have like, and these aren't even like legal ways of not paying taxes, because there are obviously legal ways of not, paying taxes or reducing them as much as possible. But they straight up go and break rules. They go and create accounts in different countries, trusts, holding companies, and so it's not like AI that's making this up. It's like it's inherent in human behavior, so we're training it to be like this because we're focusing too much on the results. And in turn, that actually creates a kind of a dystopic experience for everyone else. That's why you have the haves and the have nots, because you have people that are actually going out of their way, and they might not even be intentionally doing this, but they want the results so bad that they're willing to, like, destroy the planet, take advantage of people, even to the point of like, like slavery wasn't that long ago. And to this day, like we think it's abolished, but we're not too far from slavery. Like a lot of people are not too far off from it to begin with. So that's what I'm saying. So going back to this whole thing about being happy with less, I think is the key if there's going to be like a best case scenario. And regardless of whatever it's going to end up being, for us today in the here and now, it's better that we learn to be happy with less. And what does that mean? It means to just enjoy your own company first of all. Like that's that's the first step, I would say. So if you're drugging yourself and drinking alcohol, or like always looking for other people to be in your presence, so you can distract yourself from being yourself or being with yourself, then I say that's the first step. That's the first thing you need to deal with. And then naturally that will take you into doing things that you actually do like doing with yourself. Like for example, paddleboarding, it could be making videos like these videos I make for you guys. It could be flying a drone, it could be reading a book out in the sun, tanning, whatever it is that brings you joy and pleasure. And like you have to find the little things, because when you get rid of, like I said, the big crowds and all of that stuff, you'll tend to find those things. You'll resensitize yourself, and then you'll find those things that actually bring you joy. And they're little things. It could be a specific type of food you like to eat, whatever it is. like I would focus on that first. Then the second step is like, integrating that into the real world, and putting yourself in environments like perhaps in nature where it's congruent with those things that you like doing. And then you might actually start meeting some pretty cool people that are aligned with your new and improved way of thinking. So I think that's kind of like the two-step process to actually start being happy with less. And but the main thing that's gonna come in your way, that's gonna stop you from achieving this, and this is the boat that most people fall or end up being on, and that's the status seeking, validation seeking individuals that everything they do in their life revolves around acquiring more status, being validated by others, being even superior to others. And I'll give you a prime example of that. So the other day I was replacing on a TV show as a boom operator, which I used to do more of back then, but now I'm more, like I said, I'm more freelance and I have my own equipment, so I'm more like, getting my own clients and stuff instead of doing these union gigs. But I do replace there from time to time because I have a really good connection with the production sound mixer. So, anyways, this story is about him. So we were actually after lunch, right before going back to set, we were chatting outside and everything, and he saw my paddle board in my van. He's like, "Oh, okay, cool. So you got a paddle board and everything." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, it's like so fun and all of that stuff." So, anyways, conversation progresses. He, I guess, indirectly kind of gives a little bit of because he said, the contract here is going to end soon. There's like what 50 more days of the shoot, and then indirectly he was kind of like saying like, I don't know what I'm going to do after that, which is fine. Anyways, he makes like crazy money, and on this show, like I think he makes like $1,500 a day or something along those lines. So then I'm like, what do you got to worry about? When this show's over, just buy yourself a paddle board and go enjoy life. I said it a little bit jokingly, but at the same time a little bit serious. I was like nudging him, like, just don't worry about it, just enjoy life. But then what he said after that, it was a little bit funny in the moment, but it kind of shocked me because he says, "Oh, for me to have the same level of enjoyment that you have with a paddleboard, I'm going to need like a yacht or something along those lines." And that's a little bit shocking because you see, it's like, it's not because the paddleboard isn't as fun as the yacht. It's because he needs to feel like his status is superior to everyone else's for him to even begin enjoying whatever it is he's doing. So this kind of person is going to want to, always be eating at the finest restaurants, always be, driving the most luxurious cars, having the most highest, job title, job description, just to have a mild sense of satisfaction or enjoyment. So, and that really never ends, okay? That keeps on going forever. Like you'll never be satisfied because the problem with that is you never actually reach the satisfaction part. You always need more and more and more to just keep fueling that. I don't know what it is, but it's not satisfaction. Maybe it is in the moment, but it's not permanent and it's not sustainable. So, and that's just one example. Like I just gave because that's like a real example I had in my life. But like most people in the 9 to 5, corporate ladder grind, like they fall into this category of always trying to impress others, always seeking validation. And then their entire life, from the person they marry to the house they live in or the condo, it's based on like what other people or society or they feel society expects out of them or wants to see out of them for them to even be, treated as a person, and it's a bit delusional to be quite frank with you guys. So that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid that here at DIY Camper Build. We're about building, not creating the illusion of status. We're about actually building something tangible, a legacy, if you will, that stands the test of time and that you can count on no matter what life throws your way, like whether that's a freelance business, an actual company where you're going to employ people, or, just living minimally and just, saving up, or like whatever passive income, like whatever strategy you guys want to employ. Like we talk about all of those strategies here, So it's not the point of this video. You can check out the other videos if you're more interested in actually, creating that for yourself. But it's just to say that you don't want to build something that's, like a mask. You don't want to build a mask. You want to build an actual something, whether it's a brand or like whether it's a business, something that like where you kind of employ yourself. Like you don't ask for other people's permission. You're just doing it yourself. You provide the value that you provide with your skills and your creativity and all that stuff. And most importantly, the experience. I think that's the most important part. So I think that's what it's really all about. If you want to focus on like what it is like to be happy with less, I think you need to start focusing more on the experience that you provide for yourself and then the experience that you provide to others so that we can all get in on this. So that's pretty much all there is to it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed the video and that it sparked some ideas. And if it did, please share with us in the comments what you think, what your thoughts are on this. Love to continue discussing this further.
All right, guys, that's it for this one. If you're building something that's meant to last, whether it's a camper van, a business, or just a better way of living, I'm glad you're here. Everything I use, recommend, or offer is linked in the description. Take what works, build your own blueprint, and I'll see you in the next one.